This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
Welcome back to Mental Health and Me. I feel like it's been a minute since I've had a chance to record an episode, but if you're like me and have young kids, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants this time of year, just trying to make it through and get everything together. And something I noticed a little bit about my life at home is that there is often a dynamic where between me and my husband, we're trying to figure out a work-life balance. We're trying to figure out the logistics of getting our kids to activity. I'm trying to decide if I can handle him traveling for work or how I can make that possible. We're looking every night at the schedule for the next day. It's quite a lot. And one time, not all that long ago, him and I were arguing about the schedule and figuring things out. And he was on the other side of the bed and we're sitting there folding laundry, arguing about this. And he looks at me and says, "Nobody else is arguing about this stuff." And I just laughed and I said, actually, everybody else is arguing about this stuff. Everybody with young kids where both spouses work, maybe even if they're not working out of the home, somebody's still working in the home, taking care of the kids. Everybody's having this same discussion and trying to navigate it. And so I decided to do a marriage podcast to talk a little bit about these conversations and normalize them and also give you a little glimpse into our world. And I'm going to share kind of some things that works for us. It might work for you, it might not, but it's a great place to start having some conversations. So I decided to invite my husband, Matthew, back to the studio with me and hang out for an episode of Mental Health and Me. So how are you doing today, Matthew?
I am doing fantastic, thank you.
Do you remember that argument we had where you told me no one's arguing about this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I talked to the wives of the people you work with. Everyone is arguing about this stuff. I promise you. They are equally having these discussions with their husband. And I would say this is not going to be a spill the tea podcast. There's no Will and Jada red table talk going to happen here. But I do want to just share a little bit about what works in our marriage. And I hope that this encourages you to create your own narrative and just kind of have a good discussion with your spouse. So are you excited for my line of questioning?
I can't wait. I love your late night fights too, when I just want to sleep and you want to dig into it.
We'll get to that, but I don't consider those fights. I consider those connective activities that are just riddled with intense conversation. But we will get to that at a later time. I wanted to kind of start with gender stereotypes. I think that it's a great place to start, and I'm going to see if my husband agrees with me on any of these. But I have a few stereotypes that kind of come up. And we see, one thing I think is really interesting right now is we see the rise of the trad wife. Do you even know what that is, Matthew?
No clue.
Okay, so it's this thing where wives take traditional gender roles and they're super happy with it. They spend their day in the kitchen cleaning, making goldfish from scratch, whatever it is they want to do. And it's kind of this thing trending. And so that creates all kinds of conversations. But I'd love to know, in terms of stereotypes, what you think the answer is for us. So I'll start with an easy one. The stereotype is that women buy more off of Amazon, that women are addicted to Amazon. Who is it in our house?
I mean, probably me. Definitely me.
Definitely you.
You got me.
Yes. In the month of January, I instigate no buy January, where he is not allowed to order from Amazon for the entire month. And I'll be honest, I don't even get your crap off the porch anymore. When the mail person drops it off, I'm so tired of going out there and dragging your stuff in, I just leave it. I'm like, he'll find it.
Well, it's kind of like a game because the box shows up and you forget what you ordered. So you're like, ooh, what is this?
Yes.
Little present time.
Yeah, the Amazon stereotype is not true in our home. It is my husband.
But you're always looking for empty boxes. So I'm doing my part by making those available.
Yeah, well, we're good, I think. Okay, for cooking, the stereotype is that women cook the most. What is it in our home?
You have no idea how to cook.
It's not something I enjoy, and I am not motivated to do it, and you do it really well. So, yes.
Well, there are some photos of you holding a turkey on Thanksgiving, so, at least once a year. Right?
Yeah.
Posing.
I did used to cook on Thanksgiving until I started running 5Ks that morning, and then I gave that up too. So
yeah, and I remember one time you made a bag meal, and you missed the instruction part that said to stir the meal. It just said put it on the stove for 10 minutes, and then... Yeah.
I don't think it said to stir. It said keep covered, but that was early marriage stuff, so I threw in the towel. You do the cooking. The stereotype is that most men do the yard work. What is it in our house?
I mean, I do mow, and spread the mulch and all that stuff, but you're probably going to tell me that you do more, so we'll go with that.
I think it's got to split pretty well. I like to tinker with my garden, my little vegetable garden. I probably rake more leaves. I mow. It's kind of whoever gets to the mowing, but you're a little weirder about the mowing and the way that's done.
It's unfortunately the pre-mowing with the dog situation that sometimes
Oh,
gets us.
that's my next question. The stereotype is that it would be the man's job to clean up the dog crap out of the yard. How does that play out in our family?
Well, I mean, I wanted to hire the doggy service, but you won't do that. So, yeah, sometimes you're out there.
Yeah, I definitely am
time.
stuck with that. In fact, the last time you got a promotion, you came home and told me, and I said, that's great. Now go clean up that dog crap because I'm tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the dog crap, somehow I am stuck with overwhelmingly. Who carries the emotional load of the children? The stereotype would be that it's the woman. How is it in our house?
Yeah, 1,000%.
1,000%. You go to sleep like it's nothing, and I'm up for 2 hours. Oh, man, are they happy? Are they doing too much? Is everything going okay at school? Do they feel like I'm neglecting them? Are their needs being met? Are they still sad about such and such? How do we, make this all work out for whatever reason? And what's going to be the school option and everything? And yeah, you just go to sleep. It's very annoying. And some of you on the other end of this will understand that. Who manages the household? I don't really know what the stereotype is, but who do you think manages our household?
Oh, you and your calendar. For
Absolutely. I keep a paper calendar, folks. My husband will not seem to remember certain things relating to our kids' calendar. So I have a nice paper calendar. Now, I do sometimes send these invites on the phone. He much prefers that, but I often don't put the time in. So I remember one time him being very upset that there was something in the middle of the day. And I was like, oh, no, that's in the evening. I just sent it to you for the date, but I didn't adjust the time. But he's really into that. I like my paper calendar, so we do that. I carry it this time of year. I'm carrying it just about everywhere.
I'm going to send you some training for Outlook so you can get those invites right.
I don't even use any of that stuff. It's just not necessary in my line of work. Who is more into sports? Stereotype would be men. Who is more into sports in our home?
Yeah, I love sports, going to live sports, but when it comes to yelling at the TV and all the crazy rules, definitely you.
Yes, I would say if it's not golf, maybe you never engage in sports discussions with anyone. Even when our kids play sports, you have got to be the most neutral person there. You're very quiet. You just sit there and watch it. I'm definitely the one who's intense about it all in.
We should just put in a quick plug that we're happy that the charges got dropped for Scotty Scheffler, but
are we though? I don't even know who he
free
is.
Scotty. Neither did the cop.
That's probably I don't even know. I am wearing a Master shirt right now, ironically, that you brought me back, but
Mailback. Oh, yeah.
Oh, conversation for a different day, folks. Well, actually, maybe later in this podcast. I don't know. Who is more adventurous, you or me?
Yeah.
Definitely. My husband would love to do a vacation where I said, we're going to Turks and Caicos and we're going to sit on the beach. And I saw this great meme that said, my red flag is that I like to travel, not vacation. So I am like, sun up, sundown, what can we squeeze in? Oh, there's a hike here. Oh, look at this. There's water sports. And my husband would like to just have the butler bring drinks and us hang out. But I'm like, we got to do something.
I'm pretty sure that's most husbands would like a butler bringing drinks. But
okay, who is more bougie?
you're going to say me.
Don't even lie.
Yeah.
Do not even lie. It is 100% you. I could survive on a shoestring, and you come home. I mean, there's gifts you've given me. I won't even say on this podcast. I'm like, are you losing your mind? We are not the Kardashians. Like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? And you definitely are the bougier spouse. And so that leads me to the last one, spender or saver. The stereotype is that the wife is the spender.
Is it? Yeah.
That is
probably
the stereotype. But who is it in our home?
Well, I'm the spender for the most part. You got me.
Yes. Very, very clear. There is no one who knows us who would possibly think it's me. I'm just whatever. I don't know. Maybe I spend on vacations. Like, I like a big trip. But if it's an item, it's 100% going to be you. So I like to start out with a little humor because in our house, certain things are stereotypical and certain things are not, and that's fine. The big piece that comes in with that is choice. And it's the choice that you're going to get to fulfill the role that you're best at in your family. It's not going to be something that society tells you you're the one who needs to do this. Mm-hmm. For many years, I controlled all of our finances. When we needed everything to line up and we were paycheck to paycheck, I controlled every single nickel. I managed to do that daily. I would get in every day, check the accounts, make sure everything was lined up, nothing was ever late. I did all of that. At that time, it worked better for us. Now, things are a little different, and so who controls what? We have more things, and so we kind of divide that up a lot more. But everything is really about choice and what's going to work best for me at the time, what can I handle, and what role would I like to fulfill. There's been plenty of times where I'm working in the yard, sweating my tail off, doing whatever, weeding and stuff, and my husband's in there cooking lunch. Like, that's works for us, and that's fine, and we're both happier that way. So it's really important that you feel like you have a choice and that you're not forced into a certain role based on the gender stereotype.
Yeah, the food's way better when I cook, so.
I mean, yeah.
I actually love cooking, so it's an art.
It is a win. Like, actually, your dad was the one who I made some comment before we got married that I was going to have to learn how to cook. And he's the one who said, well, Matthew's a good cook. Just have him do it. And I said, oh, okay.
I could never maintain my figure if you were the family chef, so.
Look, I don't know. It'd be like a salad every night or something.
Probably a little more Uber Eats if you were in charge.
Don't act like you're not doing that. Plenty. It's not like you're slaving over the stove 7 nights a week or anything. The next thing I wanted to bring up, and I think this is probably the thing we do the best in our marriage, and that would be to evolve with your spouse. I met Matthew when I was 18 years old, and sometimes I'll see pictures of us or something will show up on Facebook that you wrote to me, some comment, and I'm like, those people are dead and gone. That was just an entirely different version of us. We were young. In a lot of ways, we were dumb, and it's the kind of thing that no one ever really tells you this, but really your premarital counseling should be, hey, this person that you want to marry is not going to exist in 5 years. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for that? Are you good with that? Because that's the reality of life, is that you're going to turn in to somebody completely different in a lot of ways. And I think that you and I do that really, really well. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, January will be 20 years. So
Oof.
We're 20 years older, wiser, totally different situation.
Yeah.
Work life, kids, everything.
Neither of us thought we'd be in the jobs we had now. I don't even know if the job you have now existed when we first met, to be quite honest.
Do you know what I do?
Something in construction management for data centers.
Bingo. Good job.
Yeah. Okay. But I don't really know that existed to the level. It certainly didn't exist to the level it does now.
No way.
I think that's fair to say. There was no smartphones, I don't think, when we met. Yikes.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
And the thing that I think would be most important about that is really recognizing kind of core values, and do you have a similar trajectory? That should be the question you're asking. So for us, core values would certainly be religious beliefs. We both have a really strong work ethic. I like to point out the song, like, give me that city life, give me that country life, like understanding what your spouse is looking for like that. And I think that we both evolved together really well. But we evolve very, very differently. And if I gave a picture to everyone, I would say my husband is someone who really wants to go vertically. He loves to climb that corporate ladder, would love to go something more at the top. And I am much more horizontal. So I like to do many, many things. And you really don't know what I'm going to come up with next. I think at this point, you're probably the other day you said, do you think you'll get your doctorate? I'm like, I don't know, maybe. You're like, it just seems like something you'd come up with to do. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I very well could be like, I think I'm going to do this now. So I like to just chase a lot of things. If someone asks me what I did for a living, I host a podcast. I'm a therapist. I write for Motherly. I act. I like to do a lot of different things, but I'm growing that direction, and you're also growing, and I think we both let each other grow, and our interests are really don't overlap. I mean, we're just kind of growing as individuals, and I think we let each other do that really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about being flexible, right? Sometimes you're filling in for me to be vertical, and I'm filling in for you to be horizontal, right?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put that. And we're not real big on making odes to each other on Facebook anymore. I think we kind of outgrew that. But something came up recently. I don't know if it was my birthday or Mother's Day. And you put something up, and it was probably one of the best compliments you'd ever given me. You called me the challenger of status quo. And I really like that because I am happiest when my life is not what I'd consider normal, when it's just really eccentric and I'm just living something out that's odd. So I think that the other thing that I would say about letting your spouse evolve is that you really need to be a strong person to do that. And I particularly would say this to men. I'll probably get some bad kickback on this, but I don't really care. But strong women really have a hard time succeeding if they're with weak men. And I don't mean weak in terms of strength or weak in terms of their job. I mean, you could be a 135-pound janitor and be the strongest man on earth. Like, it's about being strong and content with who you are. So you're not trying to squash your wife. Anything I come up with, you never are threatened by. It's like, oh, here we go. Like, I'm not sure what this is going to mean. But I do think that it's the kind of thing that you kind of want to encourage your spouse. And if you're squashing your spouse, you're really limiting your own growth as well. You should be like, oh, go be who you're meant to be, and I'm going to use my energy to be who I'm meant to be. Then that's how you can stay content as individuals as well as partners, I think.
Yeah, and strong-willed people, I think we're both fairly strong-willed, me probably more so at work than at home, but you're going to bash heads and have arguments, but, for me, the success has always been in not holding a grudge, like the next day moving on and learning from it and getting better.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good about that, not holding the grudge,
Me
getting
better
over
than
it.
you, but
Also accurate.
yeah.
Also accurate. I got
How
a
about
memory.
that stereotype? Who holds grudges more, men or women?
I feel like it's women. I
Yeah,
mean, but
definitely.
I have a memory like an elephant, so I can call out exactly what happened probably 10 years ago. I actually get a lot of compliments on my memory, and it makes me a great therapist because you don't want to share something and then come back a month later and your therapist have forgotten. So it serves me well, but yeah, I can definitely call you out on something you did.
17 years ago on May 4th.
Something like that, yeah. I think the other thing that's really important when you meet someone or when you're in a relationship is kind of saying, hey, where are we going here? And you and I both grew up, there was no rich relatives waiting to bless us with a lifestyle. We both knew that if we wanted it, it was going to be us. If we wanted a big trip, that was going to be us. So we worked 2 jobs. I look back on that, how much we worked very much in our early 20s and in our marriage. And we both knew that we were climbing. I think that was really important, is that for us, it was climbing. We wanted out. We wanted a different life. And even now, I see us as kind of like, I don't even like math, but 2 parallel lines. Like, we're both doing things very differently and living differently, but we're both going up. Like, we both are still chasing a bigger life for ourselves. And I think that's important because some people, and you'll meet them, they're very content just plateauing. I got to this level. I don't want to ever go up higher. This is where I want to land. And that's okay. But it's something that you should really discuss is like, hey, where's the end for you? If you want to go all the way, or if you want to go kind of just keep chasing things for 40 years, then make sure your spouse is also interested in that run.
Work hard, play hard, right?
Yeah, I would say that we do that. And I also made it pretty clear kind of early about 3 major goals that I had. When we had kids, or when we knew we were going to have kids, there was 3 things that were very important to me. Do you remember what they were?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. What are they?
Live in Frederick.
Definitely. I wanted a big house in Frederick, what I consider to be a big house.
Go on the big vacation.
Yes, I didn't get to do much traveling at all as a child. We didn't really do vacations, so I wanted a big vacation with my family.
Which takes us back to the butler and the drinks. But
Well,
and then
I didn't envision that, but hey, I'm not complaining.
the third one was for me to have a Porsche. No, it was our kids to go to private school.
Also, no.
No.
It was for me to work part-time.
Yeah, that one.
So it was really clear that there was not a goal for me to just not work. To each their own on that. If that is your goal, that's wonderful. Whatever's authentic to you, you should fight for that. But for me, it was like, hey, I want to be able to work part-time. I got this degree. I want to use it. I like being able to use these other parts of my brain. But these were my 3 major goals. And what kind of happened for us is by the time I was 30, we had accomplished these goals. And for my 30th birthday, I got to do something I had always wanted to do since before you were even in the picture. I went to California so that I could turn 30 in California, and I had 3 extra hours of 29.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent the beginning of my 30th birthday, we went up to top of the mountain where you could see the Hollywood sign. I brought my computer and I was typing and I just wrote kind of an ode to myself. And I was really proud I'd accomplished all this. And I really got to a point of just contentment and happiness with who I am. But it was like okay, now what? And what's next? Because we have these things. So what's kind of the next step? And again, that comes with the evolving, because it's like, okay, what are we going to go for next? We both knew we wanted to just keep doing these kind of things. So we've chased some other good things, and I feel like they've mostly worked out.
Yeah, and I remember that trip very well, and that day. That was great.
Yeah, right. I mean, the next day, of course, you can listen back to my other podcast with Matthew, but he wins The Price is Right. But I like to point out, I had already reached the point of contentment. I was already good with our lives before that happened. So that didn't cause it. Honestly, I think it was just a symptom of getting to that point of being able to reach these goals on our own. And I do think that if you get to that point, that it just really brings a lot of clarity, and you're not serving others in the way of, you're really looking out for, hey, what is going to be best for my family, or what is going to be best for me to grow as a person.
Well, and you mentioned core values earlier. I think it's important, like as things change and evolve, that you stay grounded in those.
Yes.
No matter what spot you're at.
Yeah, and I do think we do that pretty well. I think we both have a heart for different organizations or different things, and I think it's important too. We both grew up. I did 4-H. You did Boy Scouts. My little Eagle Scout husband, and so charity and our children understanding community service, I think, is something we like to enforce.
You would probably argue that I work part-time when I golf more than once a week too, but it's technically my job, so.
Oh, we'll get to that. The next thing that I want to bring up, and this is definitely a conversation that's occurring. I'm sure my husband doesn't always think that other people are having these conversations, but they are. But what happens, if you're at home with your children, and I'm speaking mainly to the woman listening to this, the house is a disaster. No matter, you've been cleaning all day, it's still a mess, and the kids are super loud, and they're eating 5,000 snacks and leaving a mess everywhere. And your husband's on the golf course with work, right? So, okay, he might be getting a rage text, right? And I know that you think you're the only one getting those, Matthew, but you're not. I told you, I talked to the other wives of the people you work with.
Sometimes the service is a little shaky, so they don't come through.
Yeah, whatever. But what you need to understand about this type of thing is your spouse's amygdala. And I do think that's a great conversation, because everybody's amygdala will be triggered. So we have the brain, which sole purpose is to keep you alive. That's all it's going to do. It's an organ. That's what it wants to do. And we have our mind. You like to think of them separately. So if the mind has certain things in it, it's going to tell the brain, trigger the amygdala to keep this person safe. So with our mind, sometimes things come in there like, okay, maybe I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Maybe I'm feeling not heard. Maybe I'm feeling neglected. Maybe I'm feeling overstimulated, whatever it might be. And your amygdala goes off. Well, if your spouse's amygdala goes off, it's going to do one of three things. It's going to fight, flight, or freeze. What does mine do, Matthew?
Fight.
Fight. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's where it lands. Now, the amygdala serves a great purpose. If a bear came in here, right, or a lion or whatever, that would be the part of my brain that goes off. But when we operate from the amygdala, it really is going to be less rational, I'd say. So it is where you get these terms like rage texts, or mom rage is a popular one that's trending around that kind of villainizes moms. But what you don't understand, and I hope you understand better, is that most likely her amygdala has gone off, and that's just the avenue it took. So if you are on the other end of this, what you should not do, and men love to do this, maybe you can tell me why, is attempt to fix it. Problem number one, do not just come home and say, I know what she needs. Why do men do this?
I mean, it's kind of like the, hairy homeowner mentality, right? You have something broken at your house and you want to get out your tools and make it not broken. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Men do often, and I know I'm having some stereotypes here, but these are the stereotypes that land in our home. But yes, men will often be like, I know what she needs. And they don't. And so what we want is for you to say, hey, what can I take off your plate right now? Oh, you're rage texting me. What can I do when I get home that would make it better?
Sometimes I feel like you get mad at something or about something, and it means you're mad at me. And maybe you are, but maybe you're madder at whatever thing pissed you off.
Yeah, that would be a term called venting. Sometimes I am just venting. I'm not looking for you to do something. Taking that of the more neutral and saying, what can I do? So then that's on me to give you a concrete answer. So maybe I say, I'm going upstairs and going to watch an episode of Schitt's Creek, and I'm going to come down and this kitchen counter is going to be magically perfect. I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm going to have no say in it, but it's going to be perfect. That would actually help me reset. And then I go back to operating from my prefrontal cortex. That's kind of the goal here, is that you not personalize it, but that you understand what's happening and that you can recognize, oh, that's her amygdala going off. No, she doesn't hate me, right? Those responses, why do you hate me? That's not helpful.
Well, sometimes in those situations, like I try and imagine if I were in her shoes, how would I feel or how would I react? But the reality is, like, we're programmed differently. So
Yes.
things that upset you wouldn't upset me and vice versa. And like for spouses having that outward mindset of like, hey, how does she feel or how does he feel about this? That's probably a good way to look at it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to react differently. Now, for you, your amygdala goes off. What do you think is going to happen? Fight, flight, or freeze?
I mean, I do a lot of all three, I think. It kind of depends on the situation, but I avoid conflict
Yeah.
in a lot of regards, especially in my personal life. So probably flight or avoidance, if those are the same one.
So I actually agree. I think that you are willing to fight. You're someone who's definitely confident. You will come to things with a very intense approach, but when you do that, it's from your prefrontal cortex. So it's far more controlled. People who come from anger from their amygdala, it is not controlled. That's why if a lion was trying to attack my kids, I would go after it and get killed in the process, because it's not a rational anger. It's not a rational fighting response. When you do take that approach, it is from your prefrontal cortex. So it's very, very controlled, very calculated, it has a lot of confidence behind it. I think I have the best story. I think you're right. You're definitely a flight or a freezer. And I have a great story for this to back it up. So I was pregnant with our first child. And back when you're pregnant with your first child, you do like all the stuff. So we decided we're going on the hospital tour. We had this all set up. And that day I had been wearing a necklace I hadn't worn in a really long time. And it was gold, but I guess it was tarnished and I didn't realize it, and it had this big charm on it. So I'm wearing it all day. The charm's moving back and forth. And right before we go, I'm like, oh man, that left like this big gray mark kind of across the top of my chest. So I took the thing off. I grabbed a washcloth, rubbed it, didn't think anything of it. We go for the hospital tour. Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. And so the nurse is sweet as a peach, giving us a tour, telling us this is this, this is that. Really nice. And then she notices, she's chatting with both of us. She notices that gray mark. And she did like a 180. Like she thought you had assaulted me. And she's like, is that a bruise? And you just stood there like a deer in the headlights. You never defended yourself. I was very calm. I said, thank you. This could definitely save lives. Like, I appreciate your awareness for women who are experiencing domestic violence. That's just not the case for me. I explained it was from a necklace. I mean, she still was giving you the eye, and you never said anything. You just stood there like totally frozen. And when we left, you're like, I thought she was going to have me arrested. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's a time like his amygdala just froze. You're definitely, if it's your personal life, you're a hardcore avoider. So the flight, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of knowing that. So I do know that. So when I see you adopt, that's why I knew when you froze, it's like, oh, I've got to be the one to speak up, because he's going to just stand there till the cops come, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know if I've ever worn that necklace again, actually, but
sometimes that fight, I can remember we were in a dispute with someone, and we were planning ahead of time what was going to happen when we went out and like had this conversation. And I was strategically trying to hold you back.
Yeah.
But then once we got there, it's like it kind of switched out. And yeah.
That is true. That's probably one of the few times I've ever seen your amygdala like kind of trigger this fight response. You told me I couldn't go to the meeting because I was going to shoot my mouth off. And I was like, I'll keep it together. I'll keep it up. And then you started kind of shooting your mouth off. And I was like, wait a minute. And so you do have to be kind of quick. I had to totally adopt I was like, I've got to be the rational one now. I can't like lose it. I've got to be the one like, hold on. Like, Matthew, you need to shut up. Like, and we have that kind of relationship, but I did tell you, I was like, you're done. Shut your mouth. Like, you need to stop right now. But
every couple needs a code word.
Yeah,
right?
muskrat.
Yeah.
Muskrat, like, shut up. Like, let me handle this. So I think another great practical tool you can implement, and this is one we do, and I do this in a lot of different ways. And since this is my podcast and I knew the questions, I already have the answer. So I would say a scaling question, really important to get a gauge on your marriage. Marriage counselors will tell you if they do this question with these spouses, like the numbers end up very different a lot of times. So for us, rate our marriage on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest.
9.
Okay, I said 8. Yeah, 8 to 9. So I have done this question. So right now things are pretty good. We seem to be jiving.
Yeah, but if we had a fight last night about something dumb, you'd totally say 7 today. That's how you work.
So it should be a mobile question. It could change.
Big
yes.
picture. I'm big picture.
That's true. That's true. But we would say, okay, if I did this one time and I said a 6, do you remember this?
Yeah.
And you just were blown away that I thought it was only a 6. You just couldn't get past this. You know, how could you only rate us at a 6? You know, and I'm like, look, that's just where I think we are right now. So some stuff has to change. I do see it as always fixable, right? So, okay, a 6 is a sign that we got to change some stuff because we're not on the correct trajectory. We're going downhill, not up.
Well, when you give me my last quarterly performance review, I think I was at 8.7 or something. So,
well, whatever. You're currently at an 8, so you're going to be happy with that. So
trending up.
Trending up. Yeah, I'd say things are all right now. That's why I let you come on my podcast. If I was pretty hostile towards you, you'd be, I don't know, I'd send you off. But if you do say, okay, our number's at a 6, then the next follow-up question should be, what can we do to make it a 7? Not a 10, but just like a little better. Like, let's just change the trajectory. And I do think that that's a really practical question. It's probably one of the easiest things you can implement. And I ask it every now and again. I'll use this with our kids, even like, how is mommy doing as a parent on a scale of 1 to 10? You know, what am I doing well? What is it that I'm doing that's hard, making it hard on you? And just kind of opening those conversations. No one's perfect. We're all going to have better times than others. And just, you know, maybe normalizing that a little bit. And I think it's always interesting. You know, you can't tell your spouse where they have their number. You got to like write it down and then show at the same time or something like that. But yeah, today Matthew should be happy. I was thinking 8 to 9. That's where I was at. So
Must have cooked a good dinner and scooped the dog poop last time.
I don't think you did the dog poop, but you're doing it today. The other piece, and this one's probably going to be the one that unnerves you the most, I would say for women in my demographic, women with young kids, with just the change of the way jobs are now, you're seeing a rise in traveling with work, and you're seeing a major rise in what I would say men having fun at work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you call that team building or whatever you'd like to call it, but I see this kind of discussion happening because if it's something after work, what happens is then women are like, wait a minute, so he's going out having a great time with work, but then I'm stuck doing additional labor on the back end. Or if he's doing something during the day and I've had a really stressful, hard day, he comes home happy as a clam. And meanwhile, I am totally depleted. And, you know, you're kind of ending up on different pages. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? I mean, in this field, do you think that I'm right, that there's like a rise of activities like that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, in professional America, it happens, right? There's traveling, there's golf, there's happy hours, but you just have to have a balance of what you're doing. And if I'm traveling or doing something, like there's a makeup session that comes from that, right? So trying to balance it all out.
Yeah, I think that I like to tell women, if you are the person primarily taking care of the children at home, that should be framed as a job, because it is a job. So I will use that type of language. I used it last week when I had volunteered, and that's my love language, is acts of service. So if I'm needed, I'm there. I'll help anybody. And boy, I mean, I stacked it in anytime I was needed. I was volunteering all day at field day because I'm a sucker. And I did this all day at field day on Friday. And I had told you ahead of time, just so you know, when I get home, I'm off for the rest of the evening. I'm off my job. And you kind of said something stupid, but I reminded you had golfed that week for a charity, but it was still golfing. But it just kind of framing that as I'm not available for childcare this particular night. And it's not really done to be mean. I know you don't always love that when I'm just like, just so you know, I am off. Meaning if I leave this house, fine. If I don't leave this house, fine. But I am not going to be mentally available for whatever it is, getting them cleaned, getting them to bed, whatever. That's on you.
And you usually drop some comment about do it at my level.
Yeah, that's true. I do also, I mean, I'm the best at it, right? I'm the better one. And so it is kind of that control piece. You do have to let go a little bit and recognize he isn't going to do it as good as you. I mean, that's just the facts of life. But I do sometimes have to say, okay, I got to just have some time off here. I'm like hearing little people say mom way too much. And I don't know what I'm going to do. Might be go to the gym, might not. I don't even have to have it planned. I'm just giving you some notice that I am off. But really framing what you do at home as a job. And just like if you needed a day off from work, you would talk to somebody at work and say, I'm taking the day off. It would be kind of the same for me. I'm going to need a day off for whatever reason. But that concrete language, I think, is really important to do. Just like frame it like, hey, I'm working, you're working, and that person's working. I mean, I kind of do a lot of things, so I'm all over the place with that. But I do recognize if I've done too much, I have to allow myself to recharge because I only have so much to give. And that's really important to just kind of reset. So thank you for tuning in to Mental Health and Me today, sponsored in part by the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. Until next time. You're fired off my podcast.
Live radio, local podcasts, the Frederick Podcast Network at listenfrederick.com.